Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Francorchamps, one of the classic race circuits beloved by drivers and spectators alike, where today the true essence of speed can be explored in spectacular style of relative safety and modern facility. However, it hasn't always quite been like that. Its original incarnation, Spa, was a circuit truly to be feared as it possessed dangers almost like no other. Fast straights along public roads, sweeping corners and unpredictable weather could combine to create a lethal combination, and sadly, all too often did. However, after its extensive redesign in the 1970s, created the outline for much of today's course, where we find ourselves for the Formula Renault 3.5 Championship here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Tim Cox, we've got Sam Fitzpatrick in the virtual production trailer, but right now, as always, I'm joined by my resident partner in crime for Renault 3.5. It's Seb Bosher-Williams. Seb, welcome along. Well, we were talking earlier in the week, Samborski, he's had a clean super victory so far this season, 9 wins from 9, including to boot some 6 Grand Chelem, so pole position, fastest lap, led every lap, and the race victory. Can he make it 10 wins from 10? And I'm going to look up, in fact, because I don't think it's ever been done. Someone has won every victory, every round of the broadcast split here in Formula Renault 3.5. It's truly been a dominant display from the American.
Oh, it truly has. Good evening, Tim. Good evening, everybody at home. Yeah, this man on your screen, Samborski. What can topple him? I mean, you know, every week we start off and we say, you know, how good Samborski is, and will somebody be able to get a race victory, you know, from the jaws of Samborski? And every time, you know, that's proven to not be the case. So I think Samborski's got this one today. Spa is a real driver's track. You really need to be in control of the car. You need to understand the fundamentals of how to go quick in the car that you're driving. Samborski undoubtedly knows that. He's one of the, if not the quickest driver in the Formula 3.5 out of anybody. So I think Spa today is going to be his playground, and I think it's just about who can be second and third, because I think Samborski very much has got one hand on the winner's trophy today.
Wow. Qualifying well underway. Of course, a longer lap here, really meaning that the drivers, they've got one solid opportunity, maybe two, to try and get the laps in front. They've got out early doors. Wiesemowski and Mallow still sat in the pits, yet to get underway, so they need to get a wiggle on if they want to try and get one lap in, but even then it's going to be tough for them. They need to get out now. The drivers just completing their first qualifying lap. Right now, we've got, wow, this guy on the screen right now, Carlos Resho. It's going to be one of the first few drivers across the line. The first, in fact, will be Jason Sieg, the man from down under. He's going to set the benchmark time. Then we'll have Marcos Alapon on the Iberian. He'll be the second one across. Let's find out what sort of times we're going to experience here today in Sparta. James Burn's not going to be far behind them. We head out into 18 laps of racing into the bus stop chicane. Well, just the chicane now. Back to the bus stop like style chicane that it was back in the day. And there you go, 2 minutes dead, 0.451 the time to beat. Aragron going some 8 tenths slower than that. What sort of times are we going to see pop in? And well, it's looking competitive so far from Sieg. Deresho going second to join him on the provisional front row. Keane into 5th, but then down into 6th because Young's gone faster than Holko. Bit of a new name to the series, someone we haven't seen in a while. The Aussie up onto the second row. 2 minutes, 0.8 as there is Samborski. Wow, just on the cusp of getting under the 2 minute mark with the 2 minute 0.186 to go fastest by. Just under 3/10 of a second, but it's fierce, it's tight, it's competitive in that midfield. Incredibly close times once again. Seb, Cornu, Freckleton and also Lawrence all having their times deleted due to track limits on their opening lap, so they've got work to do as Gallus goes 10th.
They certainly have. You mentioned how tight the midfield is. You can't afford to go wide, get a 1x, get your lap time invalidated. It's going to be so crucial to get a representative lap time in qualifying. It is somewhat easy to overtake here, but you want to be starting as far up the field as possible. Samborski, we normally see him improving on his second lap, but I hazard a guess that that won't happen this time around, Tim. Samborski was very wide through turn 1. Lasource didn't get necessarily the first sector timing that he needs. So I wonder if Samborski might actually be under a pressure siege. Only 2.5 tenths behind him, but I tell you what, this man on your screen, Ben Holko, he is quick through the first 2 sectors. Tim, watch out for the Australian. Can he, on his return to the series, deliver a phenomenal qualifying result?
Well, let's find out, Seb, as he heads through Blanchem on the fast, flat-out left-hander, using all of that aerodynamic grip available to him for hard onto the brakes, into the bus stop, lining it up, little blip in the throttle in between the 2 curves. And what sort of time is he going to set as he cuts the timing beam? Well, it's an improvement. No, in fact, he actually goes marginally slower by just over a tenth as Samborski has abandoned his final lap. Improvements from Young, Cornu, Brooker, another new name to this series we haven't seen too often. Louis Ranchon up onto the second row of the grid, into third, displacing Carlos Duresho. Omar Baha as well getting into the mix onto the third row of the grid, joining Holko. As things stand at the moment, Freckleton on the improving lap. Well, went fastest of anyone in the final sector, but that's only good enough for 7th. The 4th row of the grid from him as Gallus, going to be the last driver to come across the line. What sort of time is he going to set? Is he going to improve? Currently down in 13th. Well, he goes 3 tenths slower, so he's going to stay there. And that is qualifying in Spa, done and dusted. But wow, another pole position from Samborski. He's only not had pole at 1 round, and that was at Silverstone 2 weeks ago in round 8. But well, as we transition across it very shortly into the race session, we'll get to find out in 18 laps time who walks away with the victory. Will it be another Samborski? Because we continue on this clean sweep in the championship. 9 wins from 9 so far in the broadcast split this season. Equally, he's only had, sorry, apologies, he didn't have the fastest lap at 1 round. That was Silverstone. Saito, Shirokawa, the other drivers, not to beat him in qualifying. And Shirokawa beat him in Monza, Watkins and Saito beating him at Silverstone to those pole positions. But we take you through your grid here. Samborski on pole, as we mentioned. Jason Sieg joining him on the front row. Ranchon, he's got Carlos Duresho for company on the second row, with Omar Baha and Ben Holko on the third row of the grid. Dylan Freckleton and Cal Young make an all-British 4th row of the grid, with Morgan Keane and Shane Lambert, an all-American row 5, and rounding out your top 10. And row 6 is Cornu with Marcus Alacron. We move down to the 7th row of the grid, where we have got Daniel Gallus and James Byrne. Miguel Crespo has Aussie Luke Brooker for company on the 7th row, with the 8th row with the 9th row, James Mallow and Jay Lawrence. Last of those two not setting times. Neither did Eric Weisemalski. The pole will start from the back of the grid here at Spa, and we get to find as we head onto the grid now. The drivers taking to their slots. We head down to turn 1. La Source. Will it be the source of all problems for some of our drivers? You know that midfield's going to be tight. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be fiercely fought over. We're going to see another dominant display from Samborski. Not long to find out at all now. Just waiting on the last couple of drivers to take their grid. Shane Lambert, he's been on rich vein of form and really growing into the championship since that podium at Hockenheim. He picks up a 3rd place. He's starting from 10, 5th row of the grid today. What can he achieve? So he's waiting on Weisemalski to take to the grid, but no, he's not going to make it because here come the lights. And let's get ready to go racing in round 10 of the Formula Renault 3.5 here on Apex Racing TV. And we are go. But look at that storming start from the 3rd row of the grid for the number 5 guy. That's Ben Holko, already up and nearly straight into the back of Ranchon. And oh no, he's taken on someone. There's been an incident down at turn 1. Cal Young, the other driver, caught up. And after a storming start from Holko, it's not worked out for him. He's down to the back of the field as we head down the hill, past the Endurance Pierce to Eau Rouge, and then rally on across the top of the hill, running incredibly wide. That was Ranchon, but he's got right in this stream. Omar Baha tucked up right behind him. Duresho, Freckleton looking to make improvements. They pull out to the right-hand side of the track And down onto the brakes, into Lukum, and I'll tell you what, that's close, and it's almost contact between Rancho and Baja. Baja just about managed to save it. Someone's off into the wall in the background. That's Cal Young, I think. No, it wasn't. That is Denis Cornu, the Frenchman. Oh, after a good start, he's fallen right to the back of the field, but out clear. He's got nearly a second advantage as Samborski leads Sieg second, and then starts the long train. Ranchon, Baja, Direction, Freckleton, Lambert, Keane. Well, it's the rest of the field. Alacron, Crespo running out your top 10. Crespo's had a good sight in 5 places so far. Joint highest position climate with Lawrence, who started on the last complete round of the grid. He's already up into 13th place. So they all file through right now. Seb, it's been another amazing start here for Laredo 3.5.
It certainly has a fairly clean. We normally see a little bit more carnage into turn 1 La Source, but you know, of course it was Holko and Young making contact. Tell you what though, Samborski really benefited from that. You always are under pressure the first time you head down the Keble Straight towards Lecom, but Samborski had a 7/10 advantage before he even left turn 1 La Source, so Samborski had the perfect start.
So we just see the fight into the burst of chicane. Everyone just about making it through. Lambert there in 7th. He's had a good start, already up 3 places as the American. So we head down towards La Source for the second time today. Oh no, that's Ranchon. He's locked it up under braking and nearly looted the rear end and nearly spears himself straight into the field. But wow, a big moment for the Frenchman who moves from 3rd all the way down to 10th. That's 7 positions drop for him, and the French not going well here today. Of course, we saw Cornu caught on that incident up at Lecum, but there's a fight on down the back straight, down the Kimmel Straight. Here we go. We look down from the helicopter to Carlos Teresho, trying to get a move done here. And Freckleton trying to get a move done on Teresho. Can't quite get it done. Has to back out of it. Of course, the drivers do have 8 available uses of DRS. They can use them whenever they want. They can use them numerous times a lap, but they can only use them 8 times in their entirety the entire race as we head through Ravage and all getting a bit skatey there. I think that was Shane Lambert on corner exit, not having the best times that he would have hoped for. Wow, we're starting to settle down a little bit now, Seb. Maybe, just maybe. Oh, so you see Keane there. He's trying to make advances onto Marcus Alacron in front of him.
Yeah, not really settling down. That's the beauty of Spa. It's such a slipstream-dominated circuit, and what I mean by that is that if you are within a second of the car ahead, you've got a really good opportunity at getting past them. So unless you're Samborski or Sieg that have managed to create that 1.5 second gap, you are going to be under pressure lap in, lap out, and that is why Spa is one of the drivers' favourite race tracks. Keane at the moment in 8th place, trying to get past Marcus Alacron. Tell you what, Ranchon under pressure. That was a really costly mistake that he made into turn 3. Looks down the inside into the bus stop chicane. He needs to make these moves, Tim. He was in 3rd. He was looking like he was secure in that 3rd place if it wasn't for that mistake he made. So he'll have a lot of incentive to get these moves done. He just can't let that urgency get to his head, because if he makes any more mistakes, he could be looking at it falling further down the order.
And up on to lap 3. Samborski leads from Sieg. Those two comfortable out front, 1st and 2nd. Baja there. Teresho, Freckleton, Lambert, Alacron, Keane, Crespo all caught up into this battle. Ranchon in with Munson too. Bit of a gap down to James Byrne, who's in 11th. You can hear that's not me, Seb. Ranchon sounds like he's bouncing off the red limiter down the Kelm Straight, and not even when he reached the end of it. It sounded like from about halfway down.
It does. I think Ranchon was also on the DRS. That wouldn't be helping that situation, but if so, Ranchon's going to be in for a really long race. We saw it a few races ago. I think at Fuji, where drivers were bouncing off the rev limiter and they were just being passed left, right and centre, and Spa is even going to be worse for that, and that just suggests to me that Ranchon not doing the practice in a session with other drivers. You could optimize your gear ratios for driving in clean air and for driving in the slipstream. This is what happened at the start. Carl Young getting away nicely, heading towards turn 1, and Carl Young Oh, just gets caught out by the lockup there of Ben Holko. Holko really just getting it all wrong, applying the brakes too urgently, Tim, and locking up all four and losing the rears very quickly.
Oh, we look at the start from Holko now from the helicopter view. And he got an absolute epic start, really caught a lot of people napping, really hooked it up, launched it, made one places, made up two, and then just got, wow, just had to really check up because Ranchon has slowed up maybe a bit sooner than what he thought, just lost it under braking, and then there was contact, as that's Ranchon using another place into the bus stop, nearly two, because I tell you what, that's Gallus about to come past. James Byrne already made his way through. The Frenchman looking like he's in reverse right now because Gallus trying to sweep it right around the outside. Atlas Source, but Gallus now in a bit of trouble because that's Lawrence, who's had a brilliant start. He's up 5 places. That's only a clip by Miguel Crespo, his fellow countryman, the Australian. He's up 6 as we head up the hill and across the top. And then Ranchon not looking comfortable through there, Seb. Bouncing across the curbs. And now, as we head down the Kemmel Straight, we're going to have 2 wide. Are we going to have 3 wide? No, they're going to. Gallus going to remain behind, but trying to get that place back. Ranchon right round the outside of James Byrne and takes it in spectacular fashion, but he doesn't because Byrne fights back and reclaims the place instantly. And see Gallus trying to slip it up the side there, inside there into Bruxelles. Can't quite get it done once again. But I tell you what, Gallus needs to be careful, doesn't he, Seb? Because Lawrence is looking really racy and trying to capitalise where Gallus is almost opening the door up where he's trying to make these moves.
That certainly is the case, and around Spa, if you're not overtaking, you're being overtaken, especially if you're in a big pack like this. So Gallus needs to stop making these half-hearted moves. If he wants to get past Ludovic Ranchon, he needs to do it in one clean, you know, definitive overtaking opportunity. And actually Ranchon will be a little bit easier to get past than the other drivers, as we saw, you know, Ranchon struggling with bouncing off the rev limiter. So I wonder if he just needs to wait, Tim, until the Kemmel Straight down to Lacombe.
Look on board now. Oh, that was why Ranchon lost all that time, wasn't it? So we saw him having a bit of an issue, and there we go, that half spin. It's really cost the Frenchman dearly. And get the feeling with that lack of top speed that Ranchon has currently got. Oh no, it's a near half spin there. Gallus did well to avoid him, but Gallus is now going to lose 1, if not 2 place. Lawrence and Brooker making their way through, but wow, Ranchon is not looking happy right now. Seems like he's really struggling with that car for top speed, and then also in the really slow corners.
Yeah, so he's struggling to be really quick, and you're right, it just seems that I wonder, I should say to him, whether that first mistake he made on lap 2, is he burnt out the rear tyres? Has he put them through one heat cycle too many? Alacron down the inside of Freckleton, showing how you make the move through Lacombe. Great move, Marcus Alacron up to 6th place.
Plus there is Lawrence making, well, trying to defend actually, so that's Brooker who's got his way past. Aussie's mixed up there, and I tell you what, Gallus right trying to get me back through past them. They have lost a bit of time to Ranchon. This group, James Mallow also in amongst it. Cal Young has got up and running again, obviously after that instant corner back out on track 2. So is Holko. Weissmowski did not make the start. As we head through Pouon, the double left-hander on board with Lawrence right now. And I'll tell you what, Brooker's just running that little bit wide. And you see Lawrence just catching up a bit of flames and fire through the exhaust there of Brooker's car on the downshift. That's a bit understeery there from Lawrence, wasn't it, Seb?
It really was. That just goes to show the dirty air effect. This is going to give a great opportunity to Gallus to try and make the move. Will he think about trying to go around the outside of Blanchimont? We see Shane Lambert under pressure once again from Marcus Alacron. We head through Blanchimont with this battle for 13th place. Jay Lawrence currently leading Gallus. Tell you what, Tim, this is where you need to start thinking about the long game. There's no point in scrapping away in these battles that go on for lap after lap. If the drivers ahead of you are just running away, you need to play the long game and think about where you want to be at the very end of the race. We're only on lap 6 of 18, still 2/3 of the race to go. And I wonder, Luke Brooker, though, very wide through turn 1. This is going to give a great opportunity to Jay Lawrence.
It is indeed. There's a whole queue forming behind him. Lawrence, Gallis, Mallow, all waiting in the slipstream as we head up the hill. But Lambert in a bit of trouble up ahead of him. So he's going defensive here. That is Marcus Alecron right alongside. And this is going to be the move turn. Is it? Can Lambert fight back? No, he has to concede there. But they're almost 3 wide in the background. And Gallis has picked up a place. Brooker has lost through there to Lawrence and Gallis. Wow, that's just showing the power of the slipstream, and I'm guessing, Seb, as well, a bit of DRS usage as well.
Yeah, and Brooker made that mistake out of turn 1. If you don't come off the throttle until the braking zone of Lecombe, so it's so vital to get La Source very well. Somebody's had a spin. Ranchon again spinning. Tim, I wonder, as I was mentioning earlier, did that first spin, did he heat up his tyres? Is he now struggling for rear tyre grip? Because I tell you what, he does not look comfortable in his Formula 3.5 car at the moment.
Oh, there you go. The car just sliding unpredictably there through None. And really, well, it's not looking like a comfortable ride, and we're only lap 6 out of 18 here from Spa in Formula Renault 3.5 on Apex Racing TV, and it looks like it could be a long evening for Ludovic Ranchon right now. It's a bit of a shout out to one of our sponsors for this series, Virtual Racing School. If looking to improve your on-track performance, they have 50+ data packs for road and oval racing setups, track guides, data analysis software, and one-on-one coaching. Make sure you check those guys out if you're looking to improve your on-track performance. And Ranchon again, just a bit wide, a bit understeery, Seb, out through the bus stop, and now Gallis is all over the rear end of him, and Jay Lawrence is, there's been a big incident. That's Lambert and Freckleton.
Freckleton spearing across the track. I wonder if he's been collected. Lambert with damage. Miguel Crespo trying to get involved in the action as well. What has happened to Dylan Freckleton? So he sent it up the inside here. Oh, and Shane Lambert made contact. I think, Tim, Shane Lambert was unaware that Freckleton was alongside him. Very easy to do, especially if you're on a single monitor. There's not the best viewing angles out of these Formula 3.5 cars.
Oh, you can see the speed difference down the back. Straight Crespo and Byrne making their way through. I think Lambert into La Source just tapped the rear end of Marcus Alecron. And I think that's what's compounded and started that chain reaction of events off. Let's take it. So we look down from the helicopter now. Let's take a little look. Well, I'm not sure there, Seb, because there was a bit of a snap there. Oh, in netcode. That's what it was between the two drivers, between Lambert and, well, Dylan Freckleton, that caused that incident. But I'm not sure whether Lambert didn't make initial contact with the back of Alecron. What are your thoughts?
I believe that there was a little bit of contact. You saw Alecron really have to apply a little bit of opposite lock because the car, I think, was being pushed through turn 1. I think Shane Lambert was a little bit unlucky with that contact. He had a little bit of oversteer on the exit, which he corrected. And what you do is you turn into the slide, and that, of course, sort of drifts you wide toward the inside wall. And unfortunately for Shane Lambert, Dylan Freckleton was inhabiting the very same piece of tarmac. But Miguel Crespo in 7th place, he's got James Byrne right behind him. And I tell you what, drivers need to start thinking, Tim, about saving their DRSs, because it's going to become so crucial in the closing stages of this race. If you can get that advantage, if you can save an extra DRS and use it on the last lap of the race, you are almost definitely going to gain that position from the driver that you are chasing. So I wonder if this phase of the race is going to be a little bit more like a stalemate, where we're just going to see drivers just sort of lap away, and then as we get closer to the end of the race, Tim, that's when all the action is going to heat up once again.
So there is your battle for the lead right now. Samborski clear by 2.4 seconds over Jason Sieg, who's really come alive as this battle down in the background. Lambert trying to squeeze it through the middle of Crespo and Byrne. Thinks twice about it, backs out. Crespo on the outside, Byrne on the inside, which switches over. Byrne tucks back in behind Crespo. Well, they all remain pretty much as they were.
I'm surprised that Shane Lambert has got so much speed in a straight line. It looked like that car was carrying heavy front end damage, and we know how sensitive these cars are to even little bits of damage, let alone, you know, with the contact that he would have made with Freckleton. So surprising that Lambert still got the pace, but I tell you what, if you're James Byrne, you really need to be trying to make this move, or at least just keep the pressure applied to Miguel Crespo. I know I said that you have to save the DRSs, but with Shane Lambert looking pretty racy behind you, you have to start thinking, if you are James Byrne, about just getting the place and trying to run away. Otherwise, Shane Lambert is going to be there. And we know, Tim, how quick Shane Lambert has been in the second half of the season. He's been a regular in the commentary booth, and that means only one thing, and that is he's had some really good results in the last few races.
He most certainly has. And saying, you know, in the build-up, that podium that he had earlier in the season at Hockenheim, this really seems to have grown from that stage. And see Byrne trying to make his way past Crespo, just bumbles across the sausage curb on the inside there. What can Lambert do? There's Gallus, he's no foe to Inson. Likewise, Ranchon just in front of him. Mallow starting to drop off the back of this little group. Luke Brooker, who made good progress early on, fall back a little bit right now. Miguel Crespo, your highest position gain. He's on 8 places, all the way in 7th. But I've looked at about with Keane and Byrne right now. To see Mallow just moving backwards as Keane. Wow, Crespo could lose a place there. Here comes Byrne past. Here comes Lambert like a freight train, just backs out of it because Crespo is going side by side with Byrne, and surely this is Byrne's corner into Lacombe, up the inside, switches back across to claim it, and Crespo's running in too deep, Seb. He's going to lose the place to Lambert.
Not only did Miguel Crespo run it in too deep, he just broke too late, but he also got into the dirty air of James Byrne, and that just compounded his mistake, and Shane Lambert really seizing upon that opportunity. We saw when we rode on board on the rear wing, we saw that Shane Lambert has a lot of damage to that front wing, so you would hazard a guess that Crespo should be able to get past Shane Lambert, as long as Lambert doesn't also have the benefit of a little bit of slipstream. James Mallow, though, what can he do? Slowly catching up to the pack. If everybody continues to fight like they've been doing, you know, somebody like a James Mallow that's sort of been by themselves for most of the race, they've been able to save their tyres, able to save their DRS, could really play a factor as we head into the closing stages of this race.
Fascinating to see. So it's on board with Samborski right now. So half race distance, he leads. He has the fastest lap of the race by a considerable margin as well. A good 10.5. But well, there you go. Goes even quicker again to extend that margin out of 4 tenths on the fastest lap of the race. On for another Grand Chelem and continuing this clean sweep of victories in the broadcast splits. That's making 10 wins from 10. Can they make it 12 wins from 12? Well, this time we head to Australia, to Phillip Island, for our season finale at Interlagos in Brazil, as always. Can he do it? Well, there's only one place to find out here on Apex Racing TV. Suresh, the gap starting to emerge. Saig second, Baha third, Duresho fourth, Alacron fifth. There's Morgan Keane in sixth. Gaps emerging. There's a big gap down to James Byrne. He's got Lambert, Crespo, and Freckleton rounding out your top 10. As Lawrence, wow, that is a big incident down the Kemmel Straight, Seb. How does that happen? He's lost, well, heart-wheeling. That's Ranchon coming up behind him, but they made contact or something.
Oh, they have indeed. Oh, and he got caught up on the barriers. We saw Shirakawa have a very similar incident at Imola where the car sort of morphed into the barrier. But Jay Lawrence, huge accident, and it's times like this, Tim, that we're thankful that we're sim racing commentators, because that would have really hurt if that was in real life. But Ranchon, what has happened to the Frenchman? You know, he's been the pillar of not making mistakes and been really consistent, and this is another incident that we could add to his chart here today.
I think rolled over about 4 times there, and say, Seb, you know, of course with these cars that they don't have all, you see Brooker here, so he's come, I think he was coming through the pack there, but these cars do not have halo. This was modern times. As we look back from Ranchon, wow, Flying through the air. That would have been a nasty accident if it had been real life, you said, and this car's now having the halo as well. So Lawrence down and out into the pits. Like he's going to finish 18th, and the last of the running cars, because Samborski not making the start, so he will officially finish dead last. We're on to lap 11. We've got 7 remaining here at Spa in Belgium. Bad threat from his fellow countryman Lambert right now. Nice. Bit of a shout out now to another one of our sponsors for this series, SDK Gaming. If you're looking to add a live virtual HUD to iRacing, show time and task and half the relevant ones. Mini maps, fuel calculator, much more. It's the most complete overlay on iRacing if you look to stream to Twitch. Broadcast your league and series where SDK also syncs up your commentary team's cameras. We focus on drivers. We use it for all of our broadcasts here at Apex Racing TV. What you utilise is just your team's strategy on the fly by utilising the fuel calculators and it being the most accurate live timing on iRacing. Make sure you check out SDK Gaming. Also has a 14-day free trial as well. It's a boot. We look back for a burn right now. That is Lambert behind us. That is what 3.5 tenths looks here at Spa in Formula Renault 3.5 as we head through a Pouon and out towards Lafanges and onto the brakes. Seb, if you're Lambert, how do you play this one out, Seb? Do you just sit where you are for a bit, leave it to the last couple of laps, or do you try and go early?
I think to sit very much in the middle of the fence, you've got to do either. You've got to go early, you've got to surprise James Byrne, you've got to overtake where maybe James isn't expecting, or you've simply got to wait until the end. The good thing for this Byrne-Lambert fight is that Morgan Keane is some 5 seconds up the road, so it's not like, you know, Shane Lambert really needs to clear James Byrne to be able to have a shot at Morgan Keane. I think Keane's a little bit too far, at least out of the picture at the moment. But the complicating factor in this fight is that Shane Lambert has got that front wing damage, which means that he will be a little bit slower in a straight line, and that might just give James Byrne enough of an advantage in the straight line to stay ahead of Lambert. But as long as Lambert can just apply the pressure to James Byrne, Byrne could make a mistake like we saw other drivers do out of turn 1, and then that's when the driver becomes really vulnerable down towards Lecombe. So I think, to answer your question, Tim, Lambert just needs to play the long game here and just wait it out.
Wow, let's find out, Seb. And I think that is what's happening, definitely the latter, because you saw him just shoot right up onto the back of Byrne there, and then just back out of it a little bit. Like the mind games right now is Lambert. As Crespo bringing up the following train, making himself Freckleton, Ranchon. Of course, Freckleton and Ranchon already had a bit of contact, so they're coming together. Gallus as well in that group of 4. Oh no, that was a big contact. That's Crespo out into the wall, and that could well be race ending potentially for him. Broken front wing. And wow, Ranchon now looking for the move on Freckleton up the inside into Pouon, and he gets the move done, Seb. Wow, it was almost a little bit like bumper cars out there, and I'm sure Freckleton, yes he has got front wing damage to boot as well.
Yeah, really interesting what's going on in this race. I wonder if the tyres are starting to become a factor, and Freckleton just had more speed through turn 10, Bruxelles corner, and was unaware that that Crespo was just going slower at the apex. We have a look at a replay now. So Crespo is locked up, so he's trying to recover. Freckleton just taking the normal speed. And I tell you what, that's a huge amount of damage to Miguel Crespo's car. I'm surprised him even managed to get going once again, just showing the strength of these cars, but I think he'll take no further part in this race.
So a bit of a lock up. The puff of smoke there from... Actually, no, it wasn't from Freckleton, was it? That would have been from Crespo, which locked up into Bruxelles. Depending on school of thought you are, that is Freckleton into the pits clearly. Feeling like he can't continue with that level of damage that he's currently got. Or isn't, Seb? I think that might even be a drive-through for incident point limits.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Tim. So we all know that Spa it is quite heavy on the incident points, even after they updated it a few seasons ago. And we have been seeing, you know, flashes of red on the timing tower, and that indicates that they've been driving all four wheels off the track. And especially when you're in such a high split that we are in today, you really have to be up close to those track limits to gain the maximum amount of performance. So I think those 4 incident points that he would have gotten from that incident point just put Freckleton over the edge. To compound that as well, Freckleton still has that front wing damage. He might have to come into the pits again to get that sorted. I think Freckleton's race could go from bad to just plain old awful.
Talking about awful races, well, certainly from what I was hoping for. As Crespo's into the pits right now. Ben Holko there, who's actually, you know, a lap down against Lambert right now. Someone who had a blistering start and then caught up in action. Backs out of it, allows Lambert through. Had the half spin and he nearly made it into the back of Francorchamps, wasn't it? And then spinning and collecting. It was cool news, wasn't it? Just a big incident and well, disappointing to say the least from him. Just look back there, Lambert has burned hot on his tail. So him to the source. We're on lap 14 out of 18. See gaps starting to emerge now between a few of our drivers. But I feel like Seb, we see it week in, week out. This is the calm before the start here in Formula Renault 3.5, where it just comes down. That's Freckleton in, so that's got to be drive-through, do we think? Let's find out as he heads down the pit. I was keeping firmly to the left, so I think he's another victim of track limits, or is he? Right, he served it. Of course, he served it last time, didn't he? So that is actually. Oh, and he's taking tyres. So I'm guessing he's forgotten to untick those because you don't even need tyres here at Spa. And he's back out again. Well, front wing damage, isn't it? I think trying to get that repaired, Seb, and off he goes. And certainly not the race Freckleton would have been hoping for here as we head into Belgium.
No, certainly not, and he'll have to take the blame for that incident. He just wasn't aware that Crespo was a little bit slower through Bruxelles. I wonder though if Freckleton, you know, you mentioned about him taking tyres. I wonder if he knew that the damage would clear when he was getting the tyres. It would fix itself before, you know, or while the tyres were fitted, and you might as well see if he can go for a fastest lap attempt or to gain some form of glory from this race, because he's not going to get the finishing result that he wants, and maybe just showing what maybe he could have done. But Freckleton, you're right, really will be ruining this race, and really looking forward to heading across many ponds, it's fair to say, over to Phillip Island, where hopefully he can forget all about this race and come back and show the pace that we know Dylan Freckleton truly has. I tell you what though, Tim, Samborski, currently in the league of his own, 10 seconds separates himself and Jason Sieg in second, but Sieg is not really, you know, finding the pace that we expect from Jason Sieg. And this man on your screen, Omar Baha, starting to reduce those areas. I think Baha, if he continues this pace and Sieg maybe makes a mistake, Baha could be looking at a second place here, Tim.
Time's starting to run out for him, they said. You know, we're on lap 15, aren't we, out of 18. He's got his work cut out, but as we've seen, all it takes is one mistake. And I tell you what, he's taken nearly a 10th out of Sieg, just into Lacombe there and through Malmedy. So he's definitely pushing hard right now as the American. But could Drescher come along for the ride for him? I mean, Drescher's only 1.9 seconds behind Baha right now. And also, I think a lot of this comes down to, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, how many DRSs they've got available to each of those drivers. Of course, we don't know that here up in the commentary booth. I mean, they could have all 8 still available to him. It's highly unlikely at this stage of the race, but that could well be helping them, or maybe not helping them, as we just run a ball with Luke Brucker right now.
Brucker, you saw Daniel Gallitz going very wide through no-name corner. That will undoubtedly be a 1x, and you need to avoid that, especially as we head into the last 3 or so laps of the race. Incident limits will become very vital. You're very much right though, Tim, about the DRSs and who has got them. And it amazes me every time that we talk to the drivers. They seem to know, how many DRSs they've got because it's on the steering wheel, but they can guess and gauge, how many DRSs everybody's got around them. It's such a strategic element to the race. And you're right, if Dreshko or Baha have got a few up their sleeve that they can use on Sieg, they could be gaining those places in the last few moments of the race.
Let's find out as Brooker bouncing off the red limiter there for entering onto the brakes. That is Gallus in front of us. Then Ranchon. Having a bit of a race to get down 6 places. A bit electric in qualifying for pretty much most of the season. But for me, Seb, ever since Monza, where he left on that high downforce setup instead of moving across onto a low downforce after qualifying, seems to have been where it's just dipped off for him this season, and it's almost like the start of this downward spiral of form he's been experiencing right now.
And that's so often the case, especially when you've got a weekly series like this. The last race results can really impact you. So if you start, if you've had one bad result and then you have another one, you're right, it does start that downward spiral, and it can be really difficult to get out of it. And unfortunately for Ranchon, this race is not going to do anything in regards to helping that. He's gonna have to take the blame for these mistakes, that half spin at turn 1, that half spin at the bus stop, as well, in the contact that he made down the Kemmel Straight. Ranchon just not really been on the same form that we normally see from the French driver. But if you can reset your mindset, if you can, do another series maybe, or do whatever you need to do, you can come back a lot stronger. You can learn from those mistakes. So, don't count out Ranchon for having a blistering final 2 rounds. It just goes to show that it's not just about driving quickly in your simulator. There is a whole mental game to sim racing, and it's really showing at the moment.
We are on to the penultimate lap here of Spa. Samborski beats the 2-minute 1 second mark.
Samborski just being as quick as he always is. He was 9/10 quicker than Jason Sieg. Samborski cutting the inside wall so closely down towards the Eau Rouge Rayon section. He's leaving no margins out on the track at the moment. Samborski wants this fastest lap. He really reminds me of, old school Sebastian Vettel, that sort of 2010 to 2013 Sebastian Vettel. He could just get away from the line, build up a second gap before, even the first lap is over. And then right at the end, when he's dominated everything, he's been quickest in qualifying, quickest in the race, he's got the fastest lap. Eddie Samborski goes, actually, what I want to do is I want to see if I can go even quicker. And then he does. And he never, puts a foot wrong. He never makes a mistake and loses the race, wins. Samborski, who can be this man? Because it doesn't look like anybody on the grid, Tim, at the moment has the capabilities to.
So it's a man in a rich vein of form right now, as we see Gallus trying to defend from Brooker there. He looks around the outside. That's the thing to worry about, is Gallus is wily old fox. He's got that one covered off. He saw that one coming from Brooker. He's obviously not able to make up a place on this penultimate lap here at Spa for the Renault 3.5. Mention of a last sponsor for this series, Apex Racing Academy. They have 29 data packs for setups, track guides, integration with Virtual Racing School, another one of our sponsors. They also have a weekly group coaching sessions to help you go faster out on track. Much more. Make sure you check those guys out. As we see these closing stages, Gallus looking a little bit snappy there in these latter stages. Maybe tire's starting to go away from him a little bit. Just starting his final lap. It's white flag in the air. Samborski heading out, and with the fastest lap of the race on the penultimate lap, just needs to bring it home. The 9 seconds advantage over Jason Seeger goes nearly 2 seconds slower than Samborski on that last lap alone. That is a frightening margin by any stretch of the imagination across any series. But what can anyone else do in the field. Lambert on the back end of Burn, he's been there for a while. Brooker on the back end of Gallus as well. So we're on board with Samborski. Through Lacoon, through Malmedy, down towards Bruxelles. This switchback as you head down off camber, downhill onto the brakes. Just looking the car up there. What can he do as everything's starting to just calm down a little bit now, or is it because Byrne, well, he's kept all that position there, and likewise Gallus, he's going to hold on to his against Brooker. And that is, wow, Seb, I mean, realistically, these drivers have got one more attempt, haven't they? Onto the brakes, into the bus stop chicane at the end of the lap.
That's exactly what I was about to say, Tim. Yeah, things are not done and dusted. And if you have a really poor middle sector, if the tyres are starting to fall away from you, you can really be under threat as you exit Stavolo 2 or Curb de Paul Frere, depending on what version of the track, the Spa track map you are looking at. But turn 16, if you get a poor exit there, you're going to be under threat all through Blanchimont and down into the heavy braking zone of the bus stop chicane. Carlos Dreshko, though, is in really no man's land, and so is this man, Eddie Samborski. Superb drive once again from him.
Yes, as he exits the bus stop to claim 10 victories from 10 races this season for the American. He has been dominant and looking like he's going to pick up the fastest lap of the race so far. Oh, there's a spinner in the background there. I didn't quite catch who that was. That's Omar Baha. And we're going to race on here for... Wow, that was close. Nearly lost out to Carlos Duresho there. Valacron picks up 5th. Byrne is going to finish 7th. And this looks like Gallus is going to hold off the advances of Brooker to pick up that last position inside the top 10. Well, yes, again, another classic in this absolutely epic series here, Seb.
Yeah, that was a typical Formula 3.5 finish. This is what happened to Omar Baha. So he's onto the brakes into the final chicane. He's got no threat from behind. He's just going to light up the rear tyres. He hits the AstroTurf as well for good measure. Not enough grip out there. And then he's got to find his forward gears as quickly as possible. The gap between Baha and Dreshko, Tim, 0.4 of a second in Omar Baha's favour. And he will have to count his lucky stars, because that could have almost been him off the podium here today.
Definitely could have been very close. This is from Drescher's point of view. Desperately getting close, but just that's the trouble here, Seb, with the finish line is pretty much on the exit of the chicane, and a bus, a bit more of a spin there. It's so hard to try and, make up that place right at the depth, but equally I think it's relatively easy to defend it as well, because that finish line does come up so quickly.
It does, you're right, and actually that caught me off guard as well. You always think it's the longer, or sorry, the line that's further, down the straight, but you're right, that undoubtedly saved Omar Baha, and I think once again he'll have to count himself very lucky that he stands on the podium.
So, your race results here from round 10 of the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship 2022 Season 3. Samborski, it's another win for him. Sieg picking up 2nd, Baha 3rd. To round out your podium, Carlos Duresho and his fellow Iberian Marcus Alacron in 4th and 5th. And then it's the 3 Jaeger Racing drivers, Keane, Byrne and Lambert, making up 6th through to 8th. Ludwig Francorchamps, what an eventful race for him. I think he might be happy to come away from here with 9th, and Gallus is going to round out your top 10. Brooker, well, he climbed 5 places, and likewise to James Mullow, who finished in 12th, just behind him. Cal Young, well, wrong place, wrong time for him. Started 5 positions higher than where he finished in 13th. Phillip Freckleton, another driver caught up in action today, plus penalties, plus a pit stop, meant he finished down in 14th, with Courtney recovering the car in the end. Oh, we only get up in 15th. 1 lap time was Ben Holko. Then we're into retirements now. Crespo, we lost him unfortunately on lap 12. Jay Lawrence, Crespo's fellow countryman, had to retire back on lap 10. And of course, Eric Wiesemowski did not make the start. Let's have a bit of a chat to some of our drivers, and wow, what can we say? It's I think we start to feel like a little bit of a broken record, but I'm guessing he's absolutely loving it right now. Now joined by Eddie Samborski, 10 wins from 10, and another full shooting match of qualification, led every lap, fastest lap of the race, the victory to boot, just to make it all the more sweeter.
I'm fortunate today. The guys who were good at Spa stayed home. You guys won't believe it, but a pole time here is like a 59.5, 59.6, or 59.7, depending on the conditions. And I hit the infamous bump that our car gets. It gets all loaded up going down the hill. And I hit it, and I went shooting off. I was like, oh no, I'm starting 20th. But luckily, the first lap was good enough for a pole. And jumping between the two downforce levels has never been my strongest suit. It's actually really annoying. So I didn't even start to feel comfortable until like 5 to go. Believe it or not, and it'll be the common theme up and down the field, but it's kind of what's necessary. And I'm grateful to avoid any carnage. No self-inflicted, none other than that. I mean, I had one off track. Who cares, right?
Well, I mean, to put it into perspective, Eddie, I think in full commentating mood, they call you by your surname.
That's fine.
You're currently sitting on, well, if you include today, I believe that now makes it 7. I'm just having a bit of a look. Yes, 7 Grand Chelms. So that's, well, comes out of Formula 1, as I mentioned, you know, for getting pole position, fastest lap, led every lap, and race a victory. Jim Clark holds the record with 8 in his career. You're currently sitting on, if you include today, 6. Can you do it in Phillip Island and Interlagos as well? I mean, it's also, I don't think anyone, and I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm wrong, has ever made a clean sweep of victories across the season in the broadcast splits even. You're only 2 away from that. I mean, could be an absolutely mesmeric season for you.
You know, I feel confident about Interlagos. I really enjoy lapping Interlagos. I have no trouble practicing, and I really enjoy Phillip Island. It's just that whatever I do doesn't suit qualifying for Phillip Island, but in the race I seem to have not an edge. I just seem to be more consistent. So if I put in a good qualifying lap, which will be tough because the field will be really close. Phillip Island's a lot of straightaways, obviously, so there's not a whole lot of places to make up time. But I mean, I'll give it my best effort. That's all I can do, and we'll see what unfolds.
Well, it's definitely going to be intriguing to see. That's Eddie Samborski, your race winner here today of round 10 at Spa. But Seb, let's have a bit of a chat to another one of the drivers. I believe you've managed to wrestle one of them in for a bit of a chat.
I have indeed, Tim. Let's talk once again to Jason Seek. Jason, welcome back to the commentary box. You happy with second place? Started second, finished second, or are you a little bit gutted that once again Samborski just slipped through the net and you couldn't quite beat him?
Yeah, no, second's fine, Sebastian. Yeah, no, it's super quick this season, so yeah, that was as much as I had to throw at him.
I mean, it was a great result by you, but is there anything you can do to topple Samborski? I mean, he's 10 wins from 10 races at the moment. I mean, or is he just a little bit unstoppable?
Yeah, maybe like, I don't know, like a sledgehammer to one of his legs or something like that. That's probably the easiest way. But no, he's too fast. So I couldn't go any harder.
So you're really happy with your race result. How did you find Spa? Were you struggling with off track? We saw a few drivers actually have to take a drive through that they were, you know, so close to being disqualified in terms of the incident limits. How did you find it out there?
Yeah, I think I only had three or four, so yeah, I was okay. But I mean, it's just knowing where they are and you know, going as close as you can without going over them. But I was lucky I didn't have too much anyone around me, so obviously it would have been harder battling and getting a lot more off tracks in those sort of situations. So but yeah, it's a problem here, isn't it?
It certainly is. So next week we head to Phillip Island, home, or the closest race to your home. What do you think your chances are there? Do you like the circuit, Phillip Island? Do you think that maybe you could, get closer to Samborski or at least get on the podium again?
Yeah. A couple of seasons ago, I put it on pole and was out in front of James Pinsker for a few laps. But that was the first time I'd ever got there. So, but yeah, love Phillip Island. Looking forward to it next week. Can't wait to get out there. Yeah. So we'll see if I can step it up a notch next week.
Well, thank you very much for coming to have a chat with us in the commentary booth. Before we let you go and celebrate your second place, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all on the broadcast?
Yeah, sure, definitely Miguel and Joshy, just for their work on the setup this week, fantastic, and also for Joshy, just to he's gave me a really good tip, and I've sort of been working on it this week, and it's sort of paid off. So, thanks again. All right, thanks guys.
Thank you very much, Jason. Your second place finisher here today, Tim. I'll tell you what, Tim, have you managed to find another driver to have a quick chat to? Tim, I think you just about have managed to find Shane Lambert. Shane, I think Tim is having a little bit of difficulty. So welcome to the commentary box, Shane. How did your race go? A little bit interesting. I think you picked up some damage earlier on.
Yeah, I think I collided with two different cars. I think I felt like there was a bit of netcode between me and Marcos into turn one. It was pretty chaotic, and then I think Dylan Freckleton took the inside, and we just pinballed a little bit. It was unfortunate. So I was using my teammate to keep pace because I was pretty slow.
That was going to be my next question. How much was that damage affecting your straight line speed? We saw you at the end trying to get past James Byrne. Was it really affecting your pace?
Oh no, the getting past him on I can't remember the name of that turn, but when I went past him, it was just to keep pace. I was going to give it right back to him because I wasn't faster than him at all. My straight line speed was affected considerably. Without the draft, I would have been left behind. But in the corners, it was pretty okay. I would say it was probably like 90% of what it could have been setup wise. It was fun.
It certainly looked like it out there. I asked Jason Seek as well, how were you doing on incident points? We saw a few drivers having to come into the pits to serve a drive-through. Were you close in that regard?
Maybe I was close to being taken out, but I had 13 incidents at the end there. And with that contact, I had a crew chief tell me I knocked my wheels out of alignment, so that was a little disconcerting. But the car held up, considering how many incident points I had. I think maybe 8 of them were from contact. I can't tell, but I went off track quite a bit.
I don't think you were alone in that. Lots of drivers falling foul of the track limits. Well, Shane, thank you so much for once again coming to talk to us in the commentary booth. Next week we're at Phillip Island. Do you fancy your chances around there?
Yeah, actually, I love Phillip Island. After I got my gear last year, I think it was like November 30th, I jumped in the Formula Renault 3.5 for the first time, and then I set a record that was beaten overnight by Jason, but it's still the number 2 top speed for Phillip Island for last year, I believe.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, we hope to see. I hope to see your pace come to fruition in 1 week's time. Shane, before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at all?
My wonderful wife, my awesome team, everybody for tuning in, you guys for commentating. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Shane. Shane Lambert finished 8th place in today's race, Tim.
We did indeed, and well, what another barnstormer it's been here in Formula Renault 3.5 Championship. Wow, what can we say? It's been another dominant display from Samborski. Coming up here on Apex Racing TV tomorrow night. Well, it's all kicking off once again. We've got SRF Weekend Warriors will all be in the commentary booth. Slightly later in the evening, Seb will return for IGP Fun 2 Big Grid series that are full of action, drama, and excitement. Make sure you tune in for those. But wow, as we roll next week across the opposite side of the world to Australasia. Can it be another dominant play from Samborski? Well, there's only one way to find out. Tuning in here to Apex Racing TV, where we will be live from Phillip Island. I've been Tim Cox with Seb Bosch-Willins and Sam Fitzpatrick, and we will see you then.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best